I might as well go home. Holy smokes. Well, I knew Thad, and I'm here today probably because of him. Uh, it goes way back to 1959. He was at Wildcat, and I did something you weren't supposed to do at my age. I ran away from a management training program. Unheard of. My folks just about disowned me. And I skied that winter with Thad on the patrol. Well, then comes spring, what are you going to do? He had this survey business, and he had a fellow named Bob Tibbetts who was his regular summer person, and I was kind of a scrawny kid. But he said, if it doesn't work out, I'll hire you. Well, Bob went and got a job with, I think, the Maine Central Railroad. And he said, I'll try you out. On a Monday, he handed me 5,000 trees, took me down to Santa Conway, and said, I'll see you Friday, and get them in. Now, a typical tool is something Thad would come up with. It was a dibble, but it wasn't one of those easy things. It was something somebody had welded together, weighed about 25 pounds, and you struck out every 2 strides, drove it in, and put a tree in, drove it in, Well, the first day I worked till 20 minutes to 9, and I had about 850 in. But come Friday, he showed up around 2 o'clock, and I had about 250 to go, and he said, that's enough, okay. And I've stayed ever since, and I still haven't figured out what I want to do. I've had an awful lot of good experiences, as most everybody here has, and we all have stories. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. You could go on. I could be here the rest of the day and tell you about sexing beavers and about his love life up on the mountains. And all those things. But there was a glint in his eye that nobody's even mentioned. And I think if I said the Queen of Spades, a lot of us can relate to that. He loved to give you the Queen. Never play hearts with that. I really have been lucky because we did a lot of hunting together, a lot of fishing, and when we started, he paid me $11 a day. He charged $38 for both of us. We worked 6 days. If it rained, we went fishing. If it rained, we went hunting. That's how it worked. Well, it didn't rain enough. But he taught me how to crawl in my belly for yards to get a duck, or to go to some. One famous story is Mr. Chandler, or as he should be known, I guess, as Lawton, but I never got over that hump. Mr. Chandler, Thad, and I are over here, the end of Littlefield Road, or what's the name of the road, where it goes down into Eaton, and we went on our bellies, and there was no pond. And he's never outlived. There was no pond. He swears up and down there was a pond. Where the bill never got over. When we were living, he's the reason that I have my house. The house is for sale on the market for years. Nobody would pay $10,000. Well, he knew Mrs. Kirk, and he said, we got a nice couple here, and we bought it for $4,500. Well, at $11 a day, you could do it then. There's not a finer man in my book, and I have been through lots of things. I would say one thing, that some of the things they talk about at Attitash, there was a couple little wrinkles that didn't come out. One day he took me up on the tightrope, which is a very difficult trail. And, David, you got to look at this. It's impossible. You can't put a ski trail here. And you barely could walk it. And he looked at me and said, Attitash should never have been a ski mountain. It just doesn't have the features for it. And he made it work. That's what it's all about. And he made us work. That man could go, and you didn't know how to do something, you'd find out because you wanted to perform for him. I don't know, this Wilfred Norman. He was the fella that the trail's named for. Wilfred's gone. He and his friend Albert built those trails, built the trails at Loon. Just two people, one in a dozer and one with a hoe in his hand, or he cut the trees too. And he'd take people like that and get everything out of them, and they'd walk away happy. And that's what he did for all of us, and I sure appreciate it. He could make you perform, and you'd feel good about it, and he'd feel good. The only other thing I'd say is I've had so many dinners at that lovely table in the dining room, in spite of that water bar in the floor. And Virginia would always find you a food no matter how many showed up. She's the greatest. And I sure appreciate it. Thanks.